Over the past couple of days, the crypto market has changed quite a lot. And I'd say one of the main aspects there is that Aster, the coin that was not known about a week ago and all of a sudden has taken the absolute limelight, well, it's gone on an astronomical run. And I don't just mean in terms of price. I mean, the price has done a nice 15x or so ever since CZ was talking about it. I mean, mostly in terms of attention. And that's the thing. When it comes to crypto, where the attention lies is usually also where the money follows. Sometimes not completely true, but for the most part it is. And as it currently stands, I'd say that if you want to do well, this is the area to watch. It's two parts. One is these dexes of sorts, this Aster type of situation. And second is, besides, I'm going to call it the CZ portfolio, it's things that have a very high likelihood of being either promoted or that are being promoted that have a very high likelihood of succeeding over a bull market. And I present my case. A lot of the comments said a few days ago that me still buying into Aster at about $1.65 was stupid. I opened just a small bot right here just to prove to people what the results could be based on volatility. And over the past 3 days, we cashed out about 10%. And the bot itself is up about 50%. And as you can see right here, we put $600 in. It's up $350 in just the past 3 days. I have just now, about 50 minutes ago or so, opened yet another bot. The idea was about $10,000 times 3, but since the price is actually quite high, I decided to only put in $5,000, keep the rest for safekeeping. If the market does decide to fall, I'll double it up. And if the market doesn't fall, at least we got ourselves a very sizable bot right here. But that's mostly because if we take a look at Aster's chart, I'm practically buying the top, right? And I want to, of course, have some breadth in case we do see some sort of pullback back to about 186, 190, something along those lines. But remember that if it does or does not happen, we still make money based purely on the volatility. And that's really been my main goal recently. I've left all the links down below, though. This is all done over on Pionex, and you can copy exactly my bots, whatever. So to get back to the situation, as it currently stands, this is what you call betas. So what we're talking about here is if Aster is doing really, really well, which coins kind of leech off of that? These are like betas of sorts, or in this case here, if CZ is the main promoter, which coins does he have a high likelihood? It's just whatever is not the main thing that's being talked about, but could most likely do well based off of that. And a couple of coins that were really in the limelight quite recently were also coins like 𝗕𝗵𝗲. If I were to take a look at trending, for example, you can see that 𝗕𝗵𝗲 has been one of the highest trending coins. Matter of fact, it's even more high in the trending list than Aster, even though it is a beta coin. It's not the coin everybody is talking about. In volume, as you can see, it's 1/6 or something, or 1/5 of what Aster has been having. But as I told you, I've got a very serious bag in 𝗕𝗵𝗲. I got myself into it before. And I will make one very interesting note. As you can see, how quickly the market and whatever's hottest can change. Just last week, for example, we talked about Pump Fund, or I think 2 weeks ago already, and how Pump Fund was the hottest thing, and everything around it was just absolutely destroying it in a good way, right? Doing absolutely crazy numbers. And all of a sudden now we're looking back and realize, hey, Pump Fund has actually gone down from 0.008 to 0.0058. Why is that? Well, because it's an attention economy. And Pump Fund right now, all the streamers, all the things that were super hot, they're not gathering any attention right now. And the thing is, with 𝗕𝗵𝗲, Aster, this could also change at any moment. That's why you never want to be overexposed, because also, once it goes for a crazy come up like this, and in this case here, the volume is almost as high as the freaking market cap for 𝗕𝗵𝗲. The volume is freaking triple the market cap. You realize perhaps it's too hyped up and people are making irrational choices, but the way I see it is CZ had been locked for a while, not locked up necessarily, but just you stopped talking about any of his portcos for a long time, and all of a sudden, right, what he basically said on Twitter just now, this is an example, but he's tweeted a lot. He said, take a break from Aster and BNB, do one of these. My goal is proper plank, I guess, planche before age 50. Can't do it yet, just starting, health is wealth. And then 𝗕𝗁 was asking, how can this help? And he responded saying, strong body, strong mind, diamond hands. Now, the reason people took this as a pretty big deal is because from a certain angle, he's calling for the market to kind of stop buying this and give it a little bit of a rest, right? But on the opposite side, the diamond hand stuff, people are looking very much into it. And another funny thing, people noted upon this diamond hands part, the fact that he's talking about Aster before BNB is a pretty big deal to me. And it's kind of strange how we are right now talking about what another man is saying. Like, oh, we're decoding his words. But in reality, his one word of saying, hey, this is pretty nice what we're building out here on Aster, made it go from 17 cents to like $2.50 just now. His one tweet, his one word. Obviously, every single placement of his, every single mention has helped afterwards. But realistically, it was that one thing that made him just absolutely pop off. Oh, made the coin absolutely pop off, I should say. And right now, a lot of people are getting even more excited for it, because what if they follow the hyperliquid method of go for just becoming, I guess, one of the more known dexes, but then all of a sudden dive into getting your own layer one, then go for a massive airdrop and just keep it up. I mean, there's some prospects to it. Can I say Aster as a platform is amazing? No, definitely not. But that's the nice thing. The fact that it is kind of iffy-wiffy means it's more exciting, because, I mean, Hyperliquid wasn't the most amazing thing at the start. Aster's not the most amazing, but what could they grow into? And again, I'm not trying to preach here like an advertisement for Aster, so I don't really care necessarily, even though I've got a lot of money riding on it. I'm not biased here to say, hey, please buy my bag. Obviously, it's up a lot. I could just sell it, be done with it, be happy. But I'm just logically thinking this through, saying, you know what, the price has done some absolutely ridiculous numbers, and it is due for some sort of slashing somewhere, but realistically, I see this all from the perspective of bull market altcoin season. A lot of coins can go way higher than you really think they could go. And at an 18 billion FDV, which is basically the value if every single coin were to hit the market right now, if you start comparing it around, I mean, Hyperliquid here is at a market cap of 15 billion. FDV, let's quickly take a look at it, right? The full value is 46 billion. Now, again, I don't think they're necessarily the same, but you could definitely make the argument that Aster could get to the exact same value, because you have the biggest exchange in the world just pivoting over and promoting it like crazy, right? And one of the most influential crypto characters. And thus, the only case I'm presenting is when it comes to altcoin season, it's very easy to just wait for the big winners everywhere, but it's a lot easier to go with the flow, heavy on these new opportunities whenever they arise, which is why I made a video a few days ago saying, hey, here's exactly why I'm buying. A lot of people commented saying, no, it's late. Well, you see right now, it wasn't really that late. And I really honestly wouldn't even be surprised if eventually it trades at like 80 billion FDV or something along those lines. Not because it necessarily deserves it, but just because when new people enter the market, they look at what is being talked about everywhere. And this is, again, a lesson for across the roads, not just necessarily this one coin. They look at what's being talked about, what is the next biggest thing, or what is everybody talking about. And at some point, this Aster is going to turn into like a Bitcoin play where people don't necessarily want to buy it because it's up already too much. Same for Hyperliquid. But on the opposite side, if it's the most hyped up project out there, well, then there's a very good chance that a lot of the betas, which are now 𝗵𝗲 and a couple others, that those are going to pop off, which they have. And the only question is, how long will it last before, like with Pump Fun, it moves on to the next trend? But that's the thing. If you're here watching it daily, sure, you might not sell the Pico top. We have the bots that are selling automatically, though. But over time, most likely they will go back to the price that they currently hit, because even though they might not gather the exact same amount of hype, there's a very good chance that over time, as the market progresses and most things like Bitcoin go up, all these other coins will go back to those same values. But more importantly, if you're paying attention to opportunity number one right now, you see opportunity number two quicker. And I still stand by my thesis that buying, an Ethereum, an XRP, a BNB, which, by the way, is, I guess, one of the most hyped up coins right now, but a Sol, all these is pretty easy to make gains on over a season, over a few months span. But as we can see now, right, recently we talked about why Solana was such a cheap coin, so simple to buy, and Dogecoin and a few others. Look at where they are right now, down a little bit, like down 10% this week, from 240 to 212. Is this bad? Double standard. On the one hand, not that much changed, except for the fact that 1.6 billion was already bought, but not that much changed in the philosophy that many institutions will come in and buy. Yet, whenever the price does come down, people get scared. It's a market of volatility. Markets move up, down, up, down. We take advantage of that. That's why I always talk about the Pionex bots. But even if you don't have them, you got to realize this is not always going to be a straight 10 candles upwards. It can, if the hype is really there, like with Aster. It was multiple 4-hourly candles were just up and up and up and green and green. It's not always going to be the case. But again, the question should be, is that bad? But before we move on, I've talked about Redbelly before, but they had themselves one of the craziest announcements I've seen in crypto to date, and I don't think it's getting the recognition that it deserves. So the announcement that came out a little while back is that Redbelly has been conditionally selected for the RBA, the Reserve Bank of freaking Australia, their project 𝗕𝗓𝗄, making them the first public blockchain to host a central bank digital currency. So they're going to be exploring wholesale CBDCs and just the tokenization of all sort of assets. You can see they're really working on it right now. And their aim is to not just be yet another chain. The idea is that they're leaderless and they're a compliance-first RWA stack built for institutions. Now, this whole project, you might think, oh, this is just some sort of proposal. This is what they're thinking of doing. This is what they might eventually end up doing. But no, that's not the case. It's actually already live right now as we speak. It's literally in the experimentation phase. So it's literally Australia's Reserve Bank just testing how this digital money and real-world assets could work in practice through Redbelly and a few selected partners. And I think it's always nice to look a little bit beyond the United States, to look a little bit beyond what is right in front of you for most people and see that there's other projects out there that are doing it on a different scale. In this case here, these guys are doing it over in Australia. And in a world where there's always a lot of projects taking a lot of shortcuts, it's nice to see projects like Redbelly here take it the right approach. Compliance first, testing everything first, slowly but surely. They got themselves something crazy here though, and I'm really excited to see what this is going to bring in the near future. I think the more volatility you have, and the more that it goes down like this, the more it changes over from weak hands to strong hands. And of course, a lot of funds are also making money shorting it at these right levels. But I just more so think that we again here now see, if you just go with whatever is most hyped up at that time, you keep rotating from play to play, it is not that hard to win, even though there's smaller victories more times. So instead of taking one very huge one and waiting for one coin to absolutely pop off, you take your 50% gains, your 40% gains on multiple different fronts, and one time you get a bit lucky, you hit an Aster, you hit a 10x all of a sudden overnight. But so what's the next big thing gonna be? A lot of people might be wondering. And the funniest thing is, you don't know that very much up front. I've made multiple guesses throughout the past couple of weeks, and they've been really right. We've been on the money. The only one that we're still waiting for is robotics. They've not been popping off. They had a little time, but they've not done crazy numbers. But I keep on saying that if you're paying close attention to the videos, you're paying close attention over on X, you will spot most opportunities early enough to do well on thus far. And as long as the market doesn't have a catastrophic shift, this continues on. And the nice thing is, if you prepared yourself properly, how do you do that? I talk about it almost every single day. Then even these downfalls like today or yesterday, you can see them as opportunities rather than hiccups. XRP back to 296. It was just now, I think 280 or maybe even below 280 was what it just went to. Like, let's quickly take a look at the weekly here. It went to about, 280. It might have been just below 280 that it went to somewhere throughout the past couple of days. And one person might argue that's nothing, going from $3 or $3, whatever that it was at before here, about $3.12, $3.13 at the high point of the last couple of weeks, $3.17, all the way to 280 or 297. Some might argue that's nothing. I would argue this is a very heavy move, especially for people with leverage. And that's, again, the duality also, that the people who don't use leverage don't underestimate very often how impactful a move like this can be and how much money you can make on a move like this if you're quite certain that it's going to happen. Now, when it comes to XRP, I've said every single day, and I say it again, if you're buying below $3, I personally think you're getting yourself a pretty good deal from a longer term perspective. If you're buying Bitcoin, but it doesn't really get to cheap prices no more, but there's a lot of these levels where it's just actually quite cheap. And I always say, almost every single day, you can also check out the analyst here. Same for ETH on the 8-hour time frame. Nothing special happening after the bearish move. The momentum is past, and also, here we are simply ranging, waiting for the next move. We're also here just lingering in local support and the 8-hour 200 EMA. Expect the range to continue for some hours or so before seeing clear directional results. The scenario that we have been posting for several weeks, where the higher time frame looks scary, is very likely playing out. As we have almost reached the local support on the 2-day time frame, we just went close and shot up a little bit, but my bias remains is that we still go there first before making new bullish gains. That's about 3,900 in ETH. Patience is key here, and also absolutely no reason to panic if you take into consideration the absolute bullish move we made with ETH early mid-2025, a normal cycle. Here comes the thing. Don't panic. Don't think you need to catch every single move. Don't think you're always late and so you're going to make improper choices. With Aster now, maybe you guys couldn't hear that, but I may look at this and think, damn, I'm late at 227. Why am I buying more even though I've already stacked so much money from buying Aster at 47 cents? Matter of fact, I just sold a little bit of Aster to just get myself the position here. I just sold a nice $10,000 just so I can open up a position. Why? Well, because the 10K in Aster can become worth more, sure. But here I actually get the same amount of exposure to Aster. I calculated, I sold the exact amount, but then also get money based on the volatility I just often find it nicer to have a position rather than some Aster. And that's why I said, since I don't know where the price is going to go over the next couple of hours, it's always nice to get something in. If the market does fall down, you double it up or you go a bit crazier. If the market goes up from where you bought in, you stick with it. And the thing is, depending on what the market does, I guess it doesn't matter, we always make money on the volatility. It's been 1 hour, we made a couple dollars. This to some people might be nothing, but to another that's like, whoa, we did nothing and it cashed out $2 or $3 in just 1 hour from 15 rounds. Amazing. Or I look at the XRP stack right here and I realize, oh, it cashed out about 100 XRP just now overnight. Oh, that's also pretty amazing. Because again, even though it's not crazy, these hundreds of dollars, they do stack up. Or here, the SOL position, I don't know exactly how much it transacts every single time, but you can see 440 transactions because SOL has been so much down, so volatile. But every single transaction, we make a ton of money. I love to see it. If you break it down, we're making 1 SOL a day off of this. Like, what? So now, to conclude, does that mean I'm going in on every single Easy Labs type of project? I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that sometimes there's a bit of an easier narrative to follow. Right now, it's everything to do with Aster and everything around it, but it could also be perp dexes, which are getting a lot of attention right now. Do I think, oh, it's the big thing for the near future? Not necessarily. I mean, it could be that it's just a hyped up thing for a few days and then it kind of wears off like Pump Fund did. It could be phase. But the thing is, there will always be a next, I guess, bait off of that. There will always be a next derivative, something close to it, that absolutely pops off. And our job here, while I'm looking at the screen for all these hours every single day, is trying to find the next big thing, not necessarily as the earliest, but early enough to still make pretty good gains. Aster, exact same story. Did I find it early at 17 cents? I saw it. I thought it was late at 40, so I faded it at 40 cents, and then later on in the evening I realized, oh, everybody's really started to talk about it. I should definitely buy. It was 47 cents already. And then I stacked up. And later on, I realized, okay, everybody started to talk about it. It was 60-something cents, and I added more. I bought more. Was I early? No, I bought at 3x of what other people were able to buy at a few hours ago. And I remember opening my ETH bot. I'm just giving some stories here. I opened it at 2100. The day it went from 1700 to 2100. It was really dumb from almost any angle, but look at where ETH is at today. And this happens a lot of times where you think you're late, but in the grand scheme of things, you're not, as long as there's a certain amount of hype that warrants it. And again, realize that for the most part, when it comes to the market right here, all these are down temporarily. And if you look back over a few months, you'll probably be pretty sad you sold the dip if you are. If you take a look at market cap, we've not really been doing much realistically over a very long amount of time. I'm not sure if this is just the daily here, but if we really start breaking it down, the market cap did hit above 4 trillion and it was okay. But for the most part, Bitcoin has been going sideways, ETH has been going sideways. Not much is happening. These are the quiet times. And now, if you see one little shock, a 5% move downwards, a 10% move downwards, people get really, really scared. But in a bull market, you go a lot up, a good chunk down, a lot up, a good chunk down. This is a little bit of down, but for the most part, we know that throughout the next couple of months, it most likely is going to be a lot of up in the midst. All we got to do is not give up. Those are my thoughts. Because I still think we will see an XRP above $10. We will see a Bitcoin above 150, probably even 200,000. We will see an ETH above $10,000. We will see a Solana above $1,000. We got to be patient though. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to be an easy journey. If it was that easy, everybody would do it. And I always say that I am comfortable enough to be all in on Bitcoin had it not been so that the gains are not good enough. But I even said before, even XRP, ETH, SOL, I'm comfortable enough to have every single one of my dollars in one of these coins and just borrow against it. So I'm always stacking by buying all these altcoins against one of my main cryptos, or all of them really. The reason I don't, the reason I still have cash, is just because I also partially want to buy the dip, also because I want to add to my bots in case things do go wrong for the time being, and partially because maybe it gives personal satisfaction. Maybe it feels like you've achieved more on the shorter term, or you want to buy stuff with it. Like I said, I could borrow against it, but then in almost any way, it would still be smart to have that in an increasing asset. It's something that's either generating revenue or has a good potential to go up, because I got to pay it back, right, what you're borrowing against. And I know the value of that collateral will theoretically speaking go up over time, but depending on how much you're borrowing, if you're borrowing 20% or so against the value, you still have to be careful. If it goes down like 80%, you still might, or even less, I guess, 50%, maybe you might be in a little bit of a rough spot. But again, that's only from the perspective of stress. Not necessarily that your entire portfolio is wrecked, but you get my drift. But so in a market like this, I'm practically still buying anything. It doesn't really matter what it is. It doesn't really matter what it looks like. I'm comfortable buying anything as long as there's been some recent good news or recent thesis as to why. We could say anything about a lot of these coins, but if we're looking, for example, at Polkadot, it's not been down this much, but really it didn't have a good run. Why? There's not as much hype as Polkadot, or on Polkadot as another one. Could it go up like crazy? Sure. But that's like putting your freaking fingers in your nose and picking any random one. It could, but the probability ain't that high. We want to go for the highest probability plays, and sure, by that logic, we'll miss out on a few. But if you look at Story Protocol, for example, here, I thought Story was always kind of strange, but all of a sudden, the news announcements recently have been so good. And now when we take a look at the daily or weekly performance, it's actually one of the best performers in the entire top. I didn't like the coin that much, but recently, and again, I'm looking now at the 7-day chart right here, it's actually been wonderful. Why? Again, the announcements that they've made, the story that they've set is pretty good, especially now with Korea Blockchain Week. And so again, as the next week comes on in and we get the Singapore Week, so Token 2049, a big crypto event, some other coin may all of a sudden get some announcements out there, and all of a sudden it's at the top of the trending page, and you see the coin go up. Maybe not as much, maybe not 20% in a day, but then throughout the crypto market here, maybe up a little bit throughout the week while most of the coins are down, and that's still making a lot of dollars or money or gains in comparison to what the rest of the market is doing. And sometimes that can also be the goal, rather than just only being up in the portfolio. It's just being down less than all the other people are, or than you would have been had you done another strategy. Because again, you could be 8% down on ETH this week. You could have been only down 2% on XRP this week. Both are bad because they're down, but I prefer to be down 2% with a better growth curve in this case here, being up 4% today, than 8%, right? And again, looking at ETH hype, it's quite low right now at the moment, could come back up, but Solana has a lot more hype. It is a lot nicer from that angle to try and buy yourself a good Solana discount, specifically because it's 11% down versus ETH's 8. But it's mostly because of story. Solana has a better story to buy, Dogecoin has a better story to buy than ETH has. Yes, they're down more, perhaps because they were overbought and so easy over the past couple of weeks, but also they make for a stronger bullish case. Anyway, I noticed I've been rambling for way too long, so I'm going to end the video right here. Those are my thoughts on the current market. I'm practically just still stacking up every single one of my coins. I still have the exact same millions of dollars worth of positions running. Not that much has changed right here. Still, we're still $250,000 in the profit on them, so it's not like I'm stressing out over that either. I know it's gone down a lot. I think we were up $400,000 just like last week or something. But the only thing I think I still got to do like today, if I feel the time for it, is open more BNB in the bots. Because that's the only coin that I'm also thinking like, there's still a pretty good case here to be made as well. It's up a lot, but I think it's just going to be basically Bitcoin, but slightly better. And since I also said I need to do Bitcoin, which I haven't, I think I'll just replace my Bitcoin thesis with BNB. Because if the market goes down and up, there's a better case to some extent for BNB than for Bitcoin. The only thing I have against it is if anything bad happens to Binance or CZ, BNB will also have a good fall right there. That is my only risk factor. But I have the BNB already anyway, and I want to do it coin margin, so earning more coins. So that's going to be a nice little interesting endeavor. And also, a couple of you guys were pointing out that I need to cash out my 10K to a million challenge. I need to cash out this 5K and invest it right back in. I have to. Actually, I've just been stalling it for a little while because I want to do it in a separate video, but it will be coming up very soon. So stick around for that as well. And that was it for today's little crypto update. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys again in another one tomorrow.